My dear friends, I have spent decades exploring the darkest recesses of the human psyche, and I tell you this with absolute certainty. Your financial struggles are not about numbers on a spreadsheet or market conditions or even lack of opportunity. They are about something far more profound and infinitely more treacherous. They are about the psychological prison you have constructed around yourself, brick by brick, decision by decision, until you can no longer see the bars that contain you. You wake each morning with the same gnawing anxiety about money, the same familiar dread that settles in your stomach like a stone, and you tell yourself that this is simply how life must be. You have tried budgeting apps and investment strategies and manifestation techniques, yet here you remain, trapped in patterns that seem to repeat themselves with the mechanical precision of a neurosis. But what if I told you that everything you believe about your financial limitations is nothing more than an elaborate defense mechanism, designed by your unconscious mind to protect you from a truth so threatening that your ego would rather keep you poor than face it? The moment you truly say enough to these unconscious patterns, your entire financial reality shifts, not through positive thinking or spiritual bypassing, but through the radical act of psychoanalytic awakening. You see, my friends, the word enough carries within it the power to shatter the infantile dependencies and repressed traumas that have been secretly orchestrating your financial choices for years. When you speak this word with genuine conviction, you are not merely expressing frustration with your circumstances. You are declaring war against the unconscious forces that have held you captive since childhood. Forces that manifest in your adult life as inexplicable self-sabotage, chronic under-earning, and the persistent belief that abundance belongs to others but never to you. Consider for a moment how your financial behaviors mirror the classic symptoms of psychological repression. You avoid looking at your bank statements the way a patient avoids confronting a painful memory. You make impulsive purchases when emotions overwhelm you, just as you might have thrown tantrums as a child when your deepest needs went unmet. You tell yourself you are not good with money, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that protects you from the terrifying possibility of actually succeeding and having to confront what success might demand of you. These are not character flaws, my dear listeners. They are sophisticated psychological adaptations, formed in the crucible of your earliest experiences with power, control, and worthiness. Before we delve deeper into the unconscious architecture of financial limitation, I want you to pause and ask yourself this question. When was the last time someone truly listened to your deepest fears about money, without judgment, without trying to fix you or sell you something or dismiss your concerns as irrational? The answer, I suspect, is never. And this silence, this lack of witness to your financial wounds, only compounds the original trauma that created them. The human psyche, as I have discovered through countless hours of analysis, operates according to principles that seem to defy logic, yet follow their own inexorable laws. In the realm of money and financial decision-making, these psychological dynamics become even more complex, because they intersect with our most primitive survival instincts and our deepest childhood wounds around safety, love, and worthiness. When you say enough to your current financial situation, you are not simply expressing dissatisfaction with external circumstances. You are activating what I call the terminal point of tolerance within your unconscious mind, the precise moment when the pain of remaining trapped becomes greater than the terror of change. This moment of saying enough represents a fundamental shift in your psychic economy. Prior to this declaration, your unconscious mind has been working tirelessly to maintain the status quo, even if that status quo involves financial struggle. Why would the psyche choose suffering over abundance? Because suffering, particularly familiar suffering, provides the illusion of control and predictability that your wounded inner child desperately craves. Your financial limitations serve as a protective barrier against the overwhelming anxiety of having to show up fully in the world, to claim your power, to risk being seen and judged and potentially rejected at the level of success you secretly long for. But when you reach the point of authentic enough, something remarkable occurs in the depths of your unconscious. The psychological energy that has been locked up in maintaining these defensive patterns suddenly becomes available for transformation. It is as if a dam bursts within your psyche, releasing decades of repressed creative and financial potential that has been waiting for permission to emerge. This is not metaphorical language, my friends. This is the literal rewiring of neural pathways that have been carved into your brain through years of conditioned financial fear and learned helplessness. The power of the word enough lies in its ability to bypass the rational mind and speak directly to the unconscious structures that govern your financial behavior. When you say this word with genuine emotion behind it, you are essentially issuing an ultimatum to your own psyche. You are saying, I will no longer collude with my own financial destruction. I will no longer participate in the elaborate charade of believing I am powerless over money. I will no longer sacrifice my financial well-being to maintain the familiar patterns that have kept me small and safe and hidden from my own magnificence. This declaration activates what I term the integration imperative within your unconscious mind. Suddenly, The split between your conscious desires for financial success and your unconscious programming for financial limitation becomes too painful to maintain. Your psyche begins the urgent work of resolving this internal conflict, not through suppression or willpower, but through the organic process of psychological integration. The parts of yourself that have been at war begin to collaborate. The wounded child who learned that money meant danger begins to dialogue with the adult who recognizes that money can mean freedom and choice, and the ability to care for yourself and others. Now I want you to pause here and consider something important. As you listen to these words, you may be experiencing a recognition, a stirring of something long buried beneath layers of financial conditioning. If so, I want you to know that you are not alone in this recognition, and more importantly, that your willingness to feel into these deeper truths about your financial psyche is already beginning the work of transformation. Take a moment, if you feel moved to do so, to share in the comments below what this word enough brings up for you when you apply it to your financial situation. Simply write "enough is enough" and add whatever follows naturally for you. This is not merely an exercise in expression. It is a form of therapeutic witnessing that amplifies the psychological impact of your declaration. When you put words to your financial frustration in this public space, you are bringing what has been hidden in darkness into the light of conscious awareness and community support. Others who read your comment will feel less alone in their own struggles, and you will feel the power of having your experience witnessed and validated. This mutual witnessing creates a field of healing that extends far beyond what any individual can accomplish alone. The psychological mechanisms that keep you trapped in financial limitation operate at multiple levels simultaneously, and understanding these levels is crucial to your liberation. At the surface level, you have your conscious thoughts and beliefs about money, many of which you inherited from your family of origin without question. These surface beliefs might include ideas like money does not grow on trees, or we cannot afford that, or rich people are greedy and selfish. While these conscious beliefs certainly impact your financial choices, they are merely the tip of the iceberg, the visible manifestation of much deeper unconscious patterns. Beneath these conscious beliefs lies what I call the financial unconscious, a complex web of repressed memories, unprocessed emotions, and primitive survival strategies that were formed in response to your earliest experiences with scarcity, abundance, power, and safety. These unconscious patterns operate entirely outside your conscious awareness, yet they exert tremendous influence over your financial decisions. They are the invisible hand that guides you toward financial self-sabotage just as success seems within reach. They are the internal voice that whispers doubts and fears whenever you consider taking a financial risk or investing in your own growth and development. At an even deeper level lies what I term the archetypal financial complex, the collection of universal human patterns and symbols that govern our relationship to resources, security, and survival. These archetypal patterns are embedded in our collective unconscious and express themselves through timeless themes like the fear of not having enough, the guilt associated with having more than others, and the terror of being exposed as fraudulent or undeserving of abundance. When you begin to understand how these archetypal patterns influence your personal financial psychology, you gain access to transformation tools that work at the deepest levels of human motivation and desire. The word enough, when spoken with authentic emotional conviction, creates what I call a therapeutic rupture in this multi-layered system of financial limitation. It breaks through the surface level of conscious beliefs, penetrates the defensive structures of the financial unconscious, and touches the archetypal core where your deepest patterns of scarcity and abundance reside. This is why the simple act of saying enough with genuine feeling can catalyze changes that years of budgeting and financial planning could never achieve. You are not merely changing your thoughts about money, you are reorganizing the fundamental psychological structures that determine how money flows to you, through you, and away from you. The process of financial transformation through psychoanalytic insight requires what I call conscious suffering. This does not mean wallowing in financial misery or perpetuating victim consciousness. Rather, it means developing the capacity to feel fully into the emotional reality of your financial situation without immediately rushing to fix, change, or escape the discomfort. Most people experience financial stress as something to be avoided at all costs, medicated with shopping or substances or compulsive behaviors that temporarily distract from the underlying anxiety. But conscious suffering asks you to turn toward the discomfort, to breathe into it, to let it reveal its deeper message about what your psyche is trying to heal or integrate or express. When you practice conscious suffering with your financial fears and limitations, something extraordinary begins to happen. The energy that has been locked up in resistance and avoidance becomes available for creative problem-solving and innovative action. The anxiety that once paralyzed you transforms into activation energy that propels you toward new possibilities and opportunities. The shame that kept you hiding your financial struggles dissolves into compassion for the wounded parts of yourself that learned to associate money with pain or danger or moral corruption. This process of conscious suffering also reveals the hidden gifts embedded within your financial challenges. Every pattern of limitation serves a psychological function, even if that function has outlived its usefulness. Your fear of financial success might be protecting you from the overwhelming responsibility that comes with increased resources and visibility. Your tendency to undercharge for your services might be safeguarding you from the vulnerability of being fully seen and potentially rejected at your highest level of contribution. Your resistance to investing in your own growth might be shielding you from the terrifying possibility of discovering just how powerful and capable you truly are. As you begin to understand and appreciate the protective function of your financial limitations, you can start to dialogue with these patterns from a place of curiosity rather than judgment. You can ask your unconscious mind what it needs in order to feel safe enough to release these protective strategies and allow greater financial flow. Often the answer involves giving your inner child the security and reassurance it never received, acknowledging the wisdom embedded in your defensive patterns while gently updating them to reflect your current adult capacity and circumstances. The integration of financial abundance with psychological wholeness requires what I call graduated exposure to increasing levels of prosperity and responsibility. Many people sabotage their financial success because their unconscious mind associates abundance with overwhelming anxiety and unfamiliar territory. The psyche prefers familiar misery to unfamiliar joy because familiarity provides the illusion of control and predictability. Graduated exposure involves slowly expanding your comfort zone with receiving, having, spending, investing, and claiming your worth in progressively larger increments. This might begin with allowing yourself to receive compliments about your work without immediately deflecting or minimizing them. It might involve setting boundaries around your time and energy that honor your true value rather than your wounded sense of unworthiness. It might mean investing in professional development or business tools that feel slightly beyond your current comfort zone but align with your vision of who you are becoming. Each small step toward claiming your financial worth provides feedback to your unconscious mind that abundance is not dangerous, that success does not require you to sacrifice your integrity or authenticity, that you can have money and love and spiritual connection simultaneously. The therapeutic relationship between consciousness and money reveals itself most clearly in moments of financial decision-making. When faced with choices about spending, saving, investing, or earning, your unconscious patterns immediately activate, flooding your awareness with familiar thoughts, emotions, and impulses that have guided your financial behavior for years. But when you have cultivated the capacity for conscious suffering and self-observation, these moments become opportunities for choice rather than automatic reactions. You can pause and ask yourself, what would I choose if I were operating from my highest vision of myself, rather than my wounded patterns? What decision would honor both my practical needs and my deepest values? How can I move forward in a way that integrates wisdom from both my intuitive knowing and my analytical understanding? This level of conscious choice-making in financial matters represents a profound form of psychological maturation. You are no longer unconsciously repeating the financial patterns you inherited from your family or absorbed from the culture. You are not automatically following the advice of financial experts who may understand money but lack insight into the psychological dynamics that determine financial success. Instead, you are learning to trust your own inner authority while remaining open to guidance and support from sources that resonate with your authentic self-expression and values. The moment of saying enough to financial limitation often precipitates what I call a therapeutic crisis, in which all your unconscious patterns intensify before they begin to transform. This is similar to what happens in psychoanalytic treatment when a patient approaches a breakthrough. The ego, sensing that its familiar defensive structures are being threatened, mounts a final campaign to maintain the status quo. In financial terms, this might manifest as increased anxiety about money, unexpected expenses that seem to drain your resources, or internal resistance to taking the very actions that could improve your financial situation. Understanding this phenomenon is crucial because it prevents you from interpreting the intensification of financial challenges as evidence that your transformation approach is not working. On the contrary, the therapeutic crisis is often a sign that your unconscious patterns are beginning to loosen their grip on your psyche. The key is to maintain your commitment to conscious awareness and authentic choice-making, even when external circumstances seem to be confirming your worst fears about money and security. This is the psychological equivalent of walking through fire, and it requires tremendous courage and faith in the process of transformation. As you navigate this therapeutic crisis, it becomes essential to surround yourself with support systems that understand both the practical and psychological dimensions of financial transformation. This might include working with financial professionals who appreciate the emotional components of money management, joining communities of individuals who are committed to conscious relationship with abundance, or engaging in therapeutic work that specifically addresses the intersection of psychology and prosperity. The goal is to create a holding environment that can contain both your expansion and your resistance, your excitement about new possibilities, and your terror of leaving familiar patterns behind. The resolution of the therapeutic crisis marks the beginning of what I call integrated financial expression, a way of relating to money that honors both your psychological wholeness and your practical needs. At this stage, your financial decisions begin to flow naturally from your authentic self-expression rather than from unconscious compulsions or external expectations. You find yourself naturally attracted to income opportunities that align with your values and utilize your gifts. You develop intuitive wisdom about when to spend, save, invest, or share your resources. You experience money as energy that flows through your life in service of your highest purpose, rather than as a scarce commodity that must be hoarded or fought over. This integrated financial expression also transforms your relationship to financial challenges and setbacks. Instead of interpreting difficulties as evidence of personal failure or cosmic punishment, you begin to see them as information about what needs attention, adjustment, or integration in your approach to money. You develop resilience and creativity in response to financial pressure because you are no longer operating from the desperate survival strategies of your wounded inner child. You can remain calm and clear-minded in the face of uncertainty because you have developed trust in your ability to generate resources and navigate challenges from a place of inner stability and authentic power. The ripple effects of this financial transformation extend far beyond your bank account or investment portfolio. As you heal the unconscious patterns that have limited your relationship with money, you simultaneously heal aspects of your relationship with power, creativity, intimacy, and spiritual expression. The same psychological dynamics that kept you trapped in financial struggle were also constraining your capacity for joy, love, authentic self-expression, and meaningful contribution to the world. By addressing the root causes of financial limitation, you free energy that can now be channeled into all areas of your life. This is why the moment you say enough to financial struggle represents such a profound turning point in your overall psychological development. You are not simply changing your economic circumstances, you are reclaiming parts of yourself that have been lost or hidden or suppressed in service of psychological survival strategies that no longer serve your highest good. You are integrating the split between your spiritual values and your material needs, between your desire to serve others and your need to care for yourself, between your creative gifts and your practical responsibilities. The journey from financial limitation to integrated abundance requires ongoing commitment to self-observation, conscious choice-making, and psychological integration. It is not a destination you arrive at once and for all, but rather a continuous process of aligning your external financial reality with your internal psychological wholeness. There will be moments of backsliding into old patterns, and these moments are not failures but opportunities for deeper understanding and integration. Each time you catch yourself reverting to unconscious financial behavior, you have the chance to bring greater awareness to the underlying wounds or fears that drive these patterns. As we approach the conclusion of our exploration, I want to acknowledge the courage it takes to examine your financial life through the lens of psychological insight. Most people prefer to believe that their financial struggles are purely external matters, beyond their psychological influence or control. It is far more comfortable to blame economic conditions, lack of opportunities, or other people for financial difficulties than to explore the unconscious patterns that may be contributing to these challenges. But you have chosen the more difficult path of self-examination and personal responsibility, and this choice itself represents a profound act of psychological maturation. The work we have outlined today is not easy work, and it is not work that can be completed in isolation. The financial unconscious is powerful and persistent, and it requires ongoing attention and support to transform effectively. This is why I encourage you to see this video not as a complete treatment, but as an introduction to a way of understanding your financial challenges that integrates both psychological insight and practical wisdom. The real work begins when you start applying these concepts to your daily financial decisions and observing how your unconscious patterns respond to increased consciousness and choice. I want to extend a personal invitation to you as we close our time together. If the ideas we have explored today resonate with your experience, if you feel a stirring of recognition or possibility as you consider your own financial patterns through this psychological lens, then I invite you to join our growing community of individuals who are committed to conscious relationship with money and abundance. By subscribing to this channel and engaging with the content we share, you become part of a therapeutic community that understands both the practical and psychological dimensions of financial transformation. This is not merely about consuming content or collecting information. This is about participating in a collective healing process that recognizes the deep interconnection between individual financial liberation and broader social and spiritual evolution. When you heal your own relationship with money, you contribute to the healing of ancestral patterns and cultural wounds that have kept humanity trapped in cycles of scarcity, competition, and survival-based consciousness. Your personal financial transformation becomes an act of service to the larger community of beings who are ready to evolve beyond fear-based relationship with resources and abundance. Each video we share builds upon the foundation we have established today, offering deeper insight into specific aspects of financial psychology and practical tools for integration and application. You will discover how to identify and transform the specific unconscious patterns that are most active in your financial life. You will learn to recognize the early warning signs of financial self-sabotage and develop strategies for redirecting that energy toward creative and productive outcomes. You will explore the spiritual dimensions of money and abundance in ways that honor both your material needs and your deepest values. Most importantly, you will find yourself part of a community that celebrates both psychological insight and financial prosperity, that understands these as complementary rather than conflicting aspects of human flourishing. The comments section of each video becomes a therapeutic space where individuals can share their experiences, insights, and challenges without fear of judgment or superficial advice. This witnessing and being witnessed in the context of financial vulnerability and growth accelerates the healing process in ways that individual effort alone cannot achieve. So I invite you now to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you can be part of this ongoing exploration of conscious relationship with money and abundance. Give this video a thumbs up if it has offered you new perspective or validation for your own financial journey. And remember, the moment you say enough to unconscious financial limitation, you begin a process of transformation that extends far beyond what you can currently imagine. Your future self, the one who has integrated psychological wholeness with material abundance, is already calling you forward into the fullness of your financial potential. The choice, as always, is yours, but know that whatever you choose, you are not alone in this journey, and your willingness to explore these deeper truths about money and psychology contributes to the collective awakening of human consciousness around abundance, generosity, and the sacred relationship between material and spiritual prosperity.